We begin with Canto 4 of Book 1, The Secret Knowledge, which Sri Aurobindo has put in between the two cantos of Ashwapati's Yoga.
Yes, yes. Because secret knowledge is those discoveries which are in Canto 3 and Canto 5. And sometimes, one can read these 3 and 5 and then come back to Canto 4. But personally, I prefer to follow the sequence that Sri Aurobindo has given. Also, it flows from 4th to 5th.
Yes.
Now, this secret knowledge is something which, is a term straight from the Vedas, where, this knowledge, actually it is literally, if we see in its deepest sense, it means the Veda. Veda is knowledge, but not the knowledge which is perceived by the senses, ordinary senses, and not the knowledge which can be acquired by the ordinary human mind and its functions. Therefore, it is a secret knowledge. It is hidden from the ken of our senses. So when we talk about God and people have you seen God? Does God exist? And we may believe, not believe, theist, atheist, and neutral, whatever. It's not knowledge. Because God knowledge is something hidden. It's secret. So we need another kind of faculty, another kind of senses, and a great degree of evolution to arrive at that point where we can, in some way or the other, experience contact with God. So it's a secret knowledge. It's not given to everyone. By the very fact we are humans, we acquire certain things, yet certain things are secret to us. And a very simple way to understand it is how this is there and yet not there. A crow is very intelligent. It's one has to see the crows in nursing home and many places, and they're quite intelligent creatures. Intelligence limited to a certain field of practical, getting food and things like that. And we can say they are intelligent. Human beings are also intelligent. There is an intelligence operating in them. But the crow is not conscious. There is no way he can understand what human beings are. Even when he sees a human being, he cannot understand. So if these doors are closed and we are shut in the mortal ignorance, even when the divine, embodied divine is present in our front, we'll just pass by his side. The mother once made an observation. He does not know that he has just passed by the side of the very God who could answer him. About some reporter who came and passed by and raising all kinds of questions.
And the instance when the lady wouldn't wait for mother.
Yes, won't wait for mother, and the driver went in. So you see, this is a secret knowledge, and when we get freed from the strong grip of ignorance, we may not arrive at Ashwapati-like demigod status, but even if the doors are a little ajar, and we can feel the lover's kiss,
Yes.
and it fills us with delight.
Yes.
And that's why in ancient traditions it was told not to share it with all. Because of two reasons. One, because when people shared this knowledge, mostly in the form of the experiences they had, it invited attack of hostile forces from these dark worlds. Because immediately they know the target. In any case, they know. It's like literally telling them, I have plenty of diamonds with me, and after that you don't have to repeat, come and rob it. So that's why, these deepest experiences were not meant to be shared. And they were impersonally shared. Even with Sri Aurobindo, we see much later he talks about them, and only in contact with certain disciples. They saw the light of print much later. Otherwise, his writings would be very impersonal. The second thing which the problem with this is that an ordinary, by that I mean a human being in an average, normal state of ignorance would not be able to connect with it. So he may either feel awed, overwhelmed, which is not good, or he may feel that all this is jealous or envy,
Yes.
or he may simply mock at it, or he may feel, oh, this is all hallucinations. So that's why this secret knowledge was preserved in secret schools of initiations. But now, because the time has come for generalization of the yoga in the race, so Sri Aurobindo has freely given us this secret knowledge. That's another beautiful thing about this today's age, that one part of technology, that all this is freely available. Imagine Savitri for 300 rupees. I think now it is 400 or 450. And people come and ask, oh, so expensive. I remember somebody saying 300 rupees. Oh, it's very expensive. I mean, people spend any amount of money on all kinds of things and they find Savitri expensive. 3,000 rupees would be cheap. And they find it expensive. So, in a way it is good. That's why when people wanted to, at one point, asked mother, why don't you put down the price of these books? Because you see some of these hyper-evangelist schools who believe in, converting thousands and lakhs of followers, they give books at a very cheap price. So when this question was asked to the mother, she said, no, there is a reason why the prices have been kept at a certain rate and they should not be brought down, because these books are not for everyone. Those who have to read it, it will reach them. And many of these books were given free to those who were actually, ready and recipients. And there were people who were rich and they would just turn the pages and walk away. So even now, there is a kind of occult effect which prevents, because it's a knowledge which can completely, it's like an explosion, to become aware of our ignorance, and tremendous, a giant ignorance. What is hidden? Our very identity crashes. That's why we don't want to surrender, because to imagine ourselves as a flame, as a fire that burns in the depths, and not all these superficial coats that we wear. It can shatter a whole world. So it's a secret knowledge, and it's a grace that unless one is ready, it's generally not revealed. But the very fact that someone is holding Savitri, someone is reading it, somebody is hearing it, is a sign that a moment has come where a little bit of this can be poured. Otherwise, it's not possible. So we have this secret knowledge, and right from the beginning, this world, almost in the middle of this page, 46, this world is a beginning and a base. And what's our understanding? This world is a beginning and an end. We are born in this. What is there beyond? Nothing. Or who knows? Who has seen? But Sri Aurobindo says this world is a beginning, but not in the sense that it's a beginning and an end. It's a beginning. Look at the stress of the word beginning can carry two very different meanings. When we say it's a beginning and an end, it looks like the beginning is the end. But here he says beginning, which can ad infinitum, with many doors which can open. So it's also a base. It's just a base on which things have to build up. This world is a beginning and a base where life and mind erect their structured dreams. So they erect many things, but they are dreams. They come, they go away. Idealism, the feeling of a perfect love, the wisdom that will never falter, a truth which will never make any errors or mistakes, a knowledge which is unerring, a bliss that will forever remain, a happiness, a peace that is much more than anything we can acquire by any external means.
That nothing can shake.
Nothing can shake. Not even the storm, nor a battle. One finds nowhere, not even in death, as the mother puts it. So life and mind erect these momentarily. Oh, there I will find it. They are dreams. And so they come, they sustain earth's aspiration for a while, but like dreams they pass away. But
and then the next line.
An unborn power must build reality.
There it is.
So they don't know the real thing. They have a glimpse. Yes. So when the mind says an ideal love, brotherhood, it's a wonderful thing, but the mind cannot erect it. All efforts to build equality, brotherhood, freedom have collapsed because mind and life don't have the necessary knowledge. You need the secret knowledge.
Structured dreams.
Structured dreams. Beautifully, systems will be made to make sure that there is equality.
Yes.
And the system will become the means to feed worst kind of inequalities. Brotherhood. And the brotherhood will become one brotherhood versus another. And there will be killings, widespread killings in the name of universal brotherhood. Because life and mind cannot build, they are dreams. But an unborn power, the supramental, first time we have the hint.
Yes.
Must come and build what? Build reality, the true thing, not the... So we have, and then we are told, a deathbound littleness is not all we are. I think this one line is liberating, if one takes it as a mantra. And like that story of Solomon, where he is given that little mantra. The mantra is, this too shall pass. So, it's very good. In face of death, you can say, this too shall pass. Yeah. But what we can say in the face of death, a death-bound littleness is not all we are. Yeah. So liberating. See, one mantra is so liberating. Immortal, our forgotten vastnesses. Vastnesses which are forgotten. We came from there. By the light we live and to the light we go. So we have forgotten it. That's why another word used in Upanishads is smriti, memory for awakening, for enlightenment. It's a memory of what we have just forgotten. So it's because we have come from there. Forgotten our immortal our forgotten vastnesses. Await discovery in our summit selves. Unmeasured breadths and depths of being are ours. So when people say sometimes that, especially among the youngsters, this is very often a kind of joke. I had faced this as a young Air Force doctor. Mother and Shubinda drew me towards them. So people won't understand, why this fellow goes and, all this swadhyaya, and he's goes with a group of people and sits and reads something. And so some of them will say, you don't know what you are missing. You are missing real life out here. And I would tell them, you don't know what you are missing. You are missing real life out here. So one day they asked me, after all, where do you go? We go to this place, and there are a group of 5-6 of us. We used to read Savitri, essays on the Gita, Life Divine, on different days. So he asked, what do you do? We drink wine. So, but it's available in our Air Force bar. No, that wine is not available. You can't buy it. It is given by grace. So, people don't know really what they are missing. If once they had a glimpse of the delight which comes by, touch of the divine. The mother says that in one of her messages. I think in 1994, Sunil Das' music, he had put this message. The delight of being with the divine surpasses everything. It surpasses success, surpasses joy, surpasses creation, surpasses everything. So, unmeasured. Breadths and depths of being are ours. Akin to the ineffable secrecy, mystic, eternal in unrealized time, neighbors of heaven are nature's altitudes. Like the Himalayas outside, see how earth is a symbol. Yeah. So we have inner Himalayas, Kanchenjungas, and Shubindu says that. Be loftier than the highest Kanchenjunga, be wider than the Pacific and deeper than the Atlantic. He speaks of these, too far. And in fact, in Indian thought also you find Kailash, on which Shiva dwells. So not an external peak, Kailash is inside. Peaks, the ocean on which Vishnu dwells, it's not an external ocean. It's an inner ocean, wideness of being, where the being sleeps. To these high-peaked dominions, sealed to our search. So that's why he's putting in perspective, what is the secret knowledge? Sealed to our search. too far from surface nature's postal routes. We may travel all the way through galaxies and yet we won't find it. Too lofty for our mortal lives to breathe, deep in us, if forgotten, kinship points and a faint voice of ecstasy and prayer calls to those lucent, lost immensities. Prayer, aspiration, an opening, a call. It comes from there, and by the time it reaches us, it changes into aspiration. Divine gives birth to this aspiration. When Mother says so beautifully that the divine love in the human being at its highest turns into love for the divine.
Yes.
So divine love comes, we don't recognize immediately the divine love, but we begin to feel love for the divine. It changes. So it's a call which comes first from the divine, and then we begin to call him and aspire for him. And this process goes on even when we fail to look into our souls or lie embedded in earthly consciousness. Still have we parts that grow towards the light. So this is the subconscious yoga. So there is in everyone there is a process going on where things are being built and opened up, but it's only when we recognize it and consciously participate in it, then we say that one is doing yoga. But yoga is everywhere because divine is everywhere. There is nothing but yoga going on. Only we become conscious of it, so we say, I am doing yoga. But where we more conscious, we will say, now we know divine is doing yoga. And then we would say divine is doing yoga in the whole creation. The trees aspiring to the sun is yoga. Yes. So everything is yoga.
But these few lines to me are, at least in my experience, an example of how Sri Aurobindo always lifts us.
Always lifts us. So full of hope.
Yes.
Just like we read previously that this too the supreme diplomat can use. He makes our fall a means to greater rise.
Yes.
So even in the densest layer of ignorance, sometimes we as human beings, especially what happens in the beginning, and that's how evangelism comes into existence. You read something and you are touched by Sri Aurobindo, and out of goodwill, one is out of course pure fanaticism, but there is a point where out of goodwill you want, why not everybody, why not at least those who are near and dear to me, they should know about it. And some people try to push it on near and dear ones, but it's dangerous because if one is not ready, then this can have a contrary effect. The resistances will come up. So there we must trust that even when people are not aware, and there is a reason why for a long time we are not aware, yet the work is going on, yet the awakening is taking place. And at a point of time, just as something becomes an occasion for each of us, an excuse, so suddenly there will be an outer excuse, maybe a casual passing phrase that changes our life, a look, or hearing a word, something we read, meeting someone, and suddenly a door opens. Because a long preparation has gone in, even in the darkness. So he always fills us with hope.
Yes.
And see the real temple. Yet are there luminous tracts and heavens serene, and Eldorados of splendor and ecstasy, and temples to the Godhead none can see. And time to time something opens that he has described beautifully. A shapeless memory lingers in us still, and sometimes when our sight is turned within, earth's ignorant veil is lifted from our eyes. There is a short miraculous escape. So he describes first that how this happens. This can happen suddenly, swiftly, slowly, but we have to be a little indrawn, if we are too much into the surface consciousness, full of excitement, restlessness, then even when the door opens for a moment, we are not ready. We may feel the pull, and that's why Sri Aurobindo says, when you feel like meditating, it is sincerity that you should sit and meditate. Because it's something which comes spontaneously, seizes us. And at that point of time, we should meditate, we should go within. And then for a while, there is a short miraculous escape. This narrow fringe of clammed experience we leave behind, meted to us as life. So people, when they say, oh, this is real life, they don't really know what life is.
The fringe of clammed experience.
Everyday life, as somebody in 3 words, in 3 short sentences summarized history. Men were born, men lived, men died.
Yeah.
This is not life. No. But we believe that is life. Our little walks, our insufficient reach, our souls can visit in great lonely hours, still regions of imperishable light. The need to be alone. We are scared of loneliness. We feel it's a curse. It's a boon. But we don't realize it. People suffer. All over the world we see people suffering because of loneliness. It's such a wonderful opportunity given to us to talk to ourselves, to say the least, to look within, to go within. Otherwise we are all the time crowded and surrounded. And of course we have now the Mr. Television to recompense.
Amal once wrote to me, alone with the alone.
Alone with the alone. Is there? Those
yeah,
Savitri.
It's in Savitri.
Yeah. And then a few lines below, that a point of time comes and the grace suddenly does this for us. So there are two-way process. One is from our side, to use those moments when we are alone to seek our own depths. And then a time comes when the grace from the other side, it rends the veil. It's beautifully described in the Upanishads. That whatever effort you may do, ultimately it is the grace which will rend the veil. And here that part is described beautifully. In the unfolding process of the self, sometimes the inexpressible mystery, the mystery of grace, of divine love, elects a human vessel of descent. A breath comes down from a supernal air. A presence is born. A guiding light awakes. And what is the sign of that? A stillness falls upon the instruments. Sign that God is around. Fixed, motionless like a marble monument, stone calm. The body is a pedestal supporting a figure of eternal peace. That's what we often see in Buddha, in Shiva, in Sri Aurobindo's majestic. The body is a figure, a pedestal supporting a figure of eternal peace. Yes. We only see the outer figure and we sense the vastness of that peace, supporting a figure of eternal peace. So, then what Sri Aurobindo describes now are number of ways through which the God touch can be felt. We had read that line, all can be done if the God touch is there. So what is God touch? One experience of God touch is tremendous stillness and peace. Even if for a moment, it's a sign that a divine presence has come and, has begun to lead us consciously. Consciously from our side. This is one experience. Then there is another kind of experience. Or a revealing force sweeps blazing in. Out of some vast superior continent, knowledge breaks through trailing its radiant seas and nature trembles with the power, the flame. Or knowledge pours from above, from within. Yes. Rivers of inspiration as we read. And it fills the being with power and delight. One doesn't know its occult source. All that one knows is pouring from above or coming from within. So this is the second kind of experience. A greater personality sometimes possesses us, which yet we know is ours, or we adore the master of our souls, or we just become aware of the presence of the divine near us, within us, around us, and we adore. It's not something seen with these mortal eyes. They can hardly see. They can't see even physical world properly. Leave aside. Then the small bodily ego thins and falls, no more insisting on its separate self, losing the punctilio of its separate birth. It leaves us one with nature and with God. And then we have those magical lines.
And perhaps we can end with those.
That. In moments when the inner lamps are lit and the life's cherished guests are left outside, our spirit sits alone and speaks to its gulfs. This is meditation.